entrepreneurship has its many, many, many challenges that are unseen. But I have to take it spiritually because he is the only reason why I made the pivot in the first place. I kept feeling a nagging feeling in my spirit that this is your purpose. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And when God has a purpose for you and you are determined to try to go the opposite way, he will make that situation very uncomfortable for you. He's not going to allow you to stay comfortable in that situation. It's going to become difficult and you're going to automatically start feeling a shift.
Welcome back to Life Over 40, the podcast where we explore what it means to evolve, thrive, and rewrite your story after 40. This episode is for everyone or anyone who's ever looked at their life, their career, or their purpose and thought, is it too late to start over? Spoiler alert, it's not. My guest today is Kacey.
Definitely not.
It's not. It's never too late. My guest today is Kacey. She is a former corporate professional who made a bold pivot and launched her own catering business in her late 30s, early 40s. And she's going to share with you how she went from boardrooms and to brunch menus, what it really took to reinvent her life, and why starting over can be everything that you desire and something better. So if you ever questioned whether you've missed your window or doubted your ability to something different, this episode is for you. So let's dig into this conversation about reinvention, resilience, and rewriting the rules. Thank you so very much for being a guest today.
No problem. I'm excited. I'm excited to join you today and especially talk about my favorite things, which is starting anew.
Yes.
It's a scary thing, but once you get past the initial fear, it's freeing. That's the only way I can describe it. Like it's literally like a burden lifted. You know how it is. Change is hard for anyone, even in corporate America. The executives come in, they're like, "Oh, we're changing systems. Now we're going to do this or we're going to run things like this." And you're like, "Oh God, I like the way it already is." You get used to it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in life. It's just like I'm going through the rigmarole of every day. This is what I'm used to. I'm paying my bills. I'm good to go. Why in the world would I change now?
Yes.
But it's necessary. And when you're actually working in your purpose, like you're actually fulfilling your purpose, it's a nagging that just won't go away. And a lot of people ignore it, but I couldn't anymore.
So some people that may be listening, I'm going to ask this bold first question to get us started. Did you
Okay.
have to have it all figured out to just get started?
I don't have it all figured out. Have it all figured out. I think people that have multi-million-dollar companies don't have it all figured out. Like I'm just saying,
Yes.
you're constantly learning in
100%.
entrepreneurship. And that's a healthy thing.
Yes.
If you ever get to the point where you think that you know it all, you might as well just go by yourself because like at that point you're just delusional. Like you are always learning, and that's the beauty in building an actual legitimate company and not just a hustle. Because unfortunately, this generation, that's what a lot of them are doing, and they're calling it a business. But when you are actually building something legitimate, you're always going to learn something new. That's why you surround yourself around people that you look up to or encourage you in different ways.
I'm glad that you said it the way that you said it. And I think that is going to be the foundation for us really having a great conversation today. So I would like to kind of do some of lay the backstory for where you are today. Can you tell us a little bit about your corporate background, what industry you were in, and how long you were there?
Sure. So I was in the tax industry, believe it or not. Hate everything revolving around taxes, but that's just,
Especially
I
now.
don't know how especially now. So I was working for DC Tax and Revenue. So I was on the state level of tax, not federal level. But regardless, it's still very intricate and it's still, very rigorous as far as like your responsibility because A lot of people unfortunately depend on those tax payments to get them through a certain part of the year or whatever the case may be. We know the more you make, you don't look forward to taxes. It's not beneficial for
At all.
us. It's more so like we're just paying to, survive. But those who
Mhm.
are still beneficial to get a nice tax refund, they are very serious about that and they take it out on whoever. I'm basically representing Uncle Sam. So I was in that industry, and I went from Arlington taxes to DC tax. So I went from state to state. I worked in a couple of state offices, and I was in that whole tax industry for probably a matter of about 6 years.
Okay.
And so, I definitely don't miss those blackout periods, those where you can't take off and you can't travel and things like that because this is heavy tax season. And that would start January pretty much of every year. And it went all the way through, really, I would say probably May,
Mm.
because, taxes are due in April.
Yeah.
April 15th, and everybody doesn't file on time. You still got people filing extensions and things like that. So yeah, I was in that industry, very boring. I won't go too far into it, but the funny thing of it all is that I was working on the business side of the tax office. So I was dealing with small businesses and helping them stay in compliance with their taxes and things. And now that I am a small business, I don't have a clue how to lead myself.
But it
So
was
that's
nice to
funny.
get that exposure though, and
Yes. Yeah.
like and the thing is like she's also in the DC area. And one of the
Mhm.
things for those of us that are in the DC area is like, oh, once you're in the government, you almost feel this pressure, like this unspoken or very spoken, unspoken pressure of
Mhm.
like you have like you're working the government, you stay with the government. And
Exactly.
I would like to know, like, at what point did you start to feel like there was something, it was time to start something new or for you to explore your business?
So the pandemic, actually, which is a lot of people's stories these days, but during the pandemic, things they went from like hectic to like unbearable because people were losing their jobs. People weren't financially stable. And so again, like I said, you have those people that depend on, those tax payments to get through. At this point now, people that didn't before, they needed their tax money now more than ever. And again, as the face of the organization, when you're talking to people over the phone and you're trying to help them through their process, they were taking all that out on
Mhm.
whoever they could get their hands on. And during that time, it became almost, like I said, it was unbearable. And I started resenting the job because not only was the job stressing me out, but the stress was at home because we had to revert to being full-time work from home
Yes.
employees. So now where I used to be able to leave that stress in the office and come home and woosah, now I don't have anywhere to woosah because my house is the office. And it's
Yeah.
just like, I'm looking at the laptop like, I don't want to see you. I don't want you to be here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a tough time for sure.
So for you though, with going into culinary, were you always
Mhm.
someone that did catering or like you felt as if you were like that quote unquote chef? Because going from taxes to then going into doing catering, for some people they might be like, was this something that you woke up on or is this something that you kind of was always doing on the side and had the opportunity to then do it full time?
No, it actually just came out of the blue. During that time, I've always cooked. I'll put it that way. I've always been one of the cooks of my family because I have a large family. And I was always I'm the house that was like the host house. After every major family event, everybody's coming to Casey's house to, she gonna fry some chicken or she gonna do something. So I just love to cook, but I wasn't used to cooking on a grand scale. Again, family, you don't have any pressure. You
Yeah.
like, y'all gonna get this food. When you get this food, you're gonna eat what I give you, whatever, right?
Right.
It wasn't on a structural like type of thing. And then I started cooking to get through the stress. Like I
Mm.
said, it was unbearable. My job at the time, I was also going to school online to get a project management certification. So I'm like doubling up on the stress, right?
Yeah.
And I started cooking, but not just cooking more but filming it.
Mm,
So I started sharing it. That was the difference. I always cooked, but I didn't always share what I was cooking. That made a huge difference. So I started taking pictures of my food
mm,
because I started like trying to, present it a little bit better. And I started sharing recipes because I'm like, shoot, all of us in the house,
mhm.
we can't go to the restaurants right now. So we might as well get creative with what we're cooking instead of eating the same old boring things. And as I started sharing, people started getting interested and
Mm.
they was like, oh, that looks really good. Or asking me cooking questions about ingredients and things like that. And so I was like, oh, I might be onto something here, especially when it led to people asking to pay me to cook. Now I'm like, okay. This is the
This might be something to excite me.
Okay, right. Something I love to do already
Yeah.
and get paid for it. That's the ultimate goal. That's the dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And thanks for laying that out for some people because I feel
Mhm.
that sometimes there can be, I feel like people have different perspectives on how to start getting into entrepreneurship or how to reinvent your career. And they
Mm,
think that it always needs to be linear. And
mhm.
sometimes it might be something that starts out of a passion or how you are reacting to a specific season in your
Right.
life. So it's not as calculated as like, oh, I've always kind of wanted to do X, Y, and Z. No, I
Mhm.
was going through some things. I realized that love to cook as a release and I started
Mhm.
sharing it. Like I want to challenge some of the listeners to sit here and think like, what are you doing that you can actually just share what you're up to, not being
Mhm.
attached? Because from what I hear, there wasn't an attachment to a result. It was just you sharing what you were doing in the
Right.
beginning that actually got the interest.
Yeah, it was no structure.
Mhm.
It wasn't like I wrote down, "Oh, today we're gonna do this
Yeah.
recipe."
No, not at
Now
all.
it got to that point
Yes.
after a while when it became a thing, but in the beginning, there was no business name. There
Mhm.
was no Kacey Grady Cooks. It was just Casey's online,
Mhm.
like sharing like everybody else because we're stuck in the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was okay, and this is what bloggers do. This is the temperature of the environment that we're in now.
Yes.
Everyone is just sharing and you're just waiting for people to catch on.
Mhm.
And I wasn't even doing it for people to catch on. It was so genuine. I literally was just cooking to keep from crying
Yeah.
because cooking is therapy for me, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I was sharing just what I was eating because I love food. And so other people I realized love food just as much, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it was a commonality that we found in each other online. It was just like, okay, she's cooking good food. I like good food. I'm a follow
Yeah.
and I'm a engage
I
because that's what you need is engagement in the beginning.
and I appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like that can be extremely relatable to some people.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to this shift and reinventing ourselves, like it can almost be overthought at
Yes.
moments. And one of the things is like starting over isn't easy, especially at the ages that we are in, because sometimes we're allowing the pressures of society or who we think we should be or where we think we should be in our careers sometimes keep us numb
Mm-hmm.
to the fear. So one of the
Right.
things I wanted to know is like what fears came up for you in the earlier stages of you starting this new endeavor?
Financial fear.
Yeah,
That was
true.
the biggest fear because, like you said, me being from the DMV area, everybody, their mother, their father, auntie, sister, cousin, brother, like everybody works for the government. So
Mhm.
it's like once you get a government position, whether it's state or local or federal, you feel like I have security financially because everyone knows that most government positions they pay pretty well, and even if they don't pay the best, you have a great benefits package. And
Yeah,
we all know
that's it.
benefits is equal to money.
Yes.
And, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, oh, yeah, but a good benefits package can be compensation
Yeah.
because it's keeping you from having to come out of your pocket for certain things that are necessary,
Mm.
like, so for me. At the time, financially, I was stable, but I still needed more and even more because I was sending my son off to college soon.
Mhm.
When I first started, he was in high school. So I'm thinking about college and all these things. And I'm, a single mom. And I've always been a single mom in every sense of the word.
Mhm.
And so with no financial help from dad, just, it's all on me. That's what we single mothers and anyone, who is taking care of their child is thinking about is the financials. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like that's what makes the world go round. So that was the biggest fear. I don't think I had any other fears about, oh, am I good enough or anything like that. Those things came later.
Yeah.
And that's we'll get into that later with imposter
Mhm.
syndrome. I'm sure
Yes.
you're gonna bring that up. But financially, that was the biggest fear of my financials.
Yeah, and I think that that's sometimes what keeps us, like, in that good job or in
Mhm.
even just moving to different places. It's always feel when I speak to people, sometimes that can be, like, the biggest underlier
Mhm.
to what keeps them from doing stuff. So now that you've taken us through like how you now starting to make this shift. Was there anything that you started to do to begin preparing you for this shift now that people are starting to ask you questions and, it's starting to gain some momentum? How did you begin to prepare for this shift, be it either emotionally, financially, or otherwise, so that you could make this transition?
Well, number one, with me being in my late 30s, pushing 40, I already knew that my presence in this food industry needed to come off a certain way, meaning that, like, I wasn't going to do it halfway.
Mm,
If I was going to do it, I'm going to do it.
mhm,
So, I think a lot of people forget that investing in yourself is key because you're investing in what type of clientele you want, how your company, is presented and how you're presented as
mm,
an individual. Just overall, I've always been a woman of a lot of pride. I pride myself in like how I look,
mm,
most women do. We care about our hair and, our nails and all of that other thing. So
yeah.
for me, my business was just as important. This is something that I am presenting. And so it needs to be on point, was my mindset. So how I started preparing was I first was like, okay, this is becoming something. I got to come up with a business name. I mean, that's number one, right? I'm
Yeah,
like,
it is.
okay, if it's going to be a business, what is it going to be named? So the reason I came up with Kacey Grady Cooks, which is so simple but so fitting, is because my name has a ring to it, and it always has, even in school. Kacey Grady is straight, is simple.
Yeah.
It's not, 5 letters in each name. It's like, okay, you usually are going to remember my full name. Most people that I went to school with, even coworkers, old coworkers to this day, nobody just sees me and says, "Hey, Casey." They're like, "Hey, Kacey Grady." Like, it's
It
just,
just stuck.
I
Yeah.
don't know, it just rings, right?
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about my business name, I'm like, if my name has this ring to it and everybody addresses me from my full name, I might as well put that in my business because it will be unforgettable or hard to forget, I
Mm,
should say. And so I was like, okay, Kacey Grady Cooks. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm cooking. I love to cook. Hey, let's roll with it. Like, I didn't get too difficult with it. So that to answer your question, that was number one, coming up with a business name. Number two, figuring out like, okay, well, what kind of food do I want to cook for other people? Because I
mhm,
know what I like to eat,
mm,
but I'm not in the business to just, cook what just I like to eat. Like, what do I want like my cuisine to be?
mm,
Is it going to be American? Do I want to start exploring, with touching into, maybe different cultural foods, and get
yeah.
creative when, what type of menu. So all the logistics started coming down the line. But the first thing was first, I was like, how do I want to be presented? And once I find out how I want to be presented, which for my case was as a luxury company, I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I want to appeal to the upper echelon.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, because that's very important as well. And I don't want to jump too far ahead because I know you have questions lined up, but
Uh-huh.
finding out who your clientele is needs to be at the top of your list when you're coming up with pivoting. Who do I want to appeal to? Who do I want my client to be? Right. And then once you find out who you want your client to be, that'll kind of help everything else come into place. That's going to affect how you market, like, how your website looks and all of that. It really determines everything.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And so, like, you've been so open with your shares. So I want to know,
Mhm.
and I'm sure the people
Mhm.
are curious, how did the people in your life respond to you making this decision?
It was not negative,
Okay.
but it wasn't the most positive either. I had a lot of not yet, not any no's like, oh, you shouldn't do this. I have a good group of people around me and my best friend, at the time,
Mhm,
that's a whole nother story, but she's also an entrepreneur.
mhm,
And so I watched her go through that process. And, I kind of had some idea of certain things that I would need to do and, how the response would be of people around me.
mhm,
But of course, every experience is personal. And so I was in a relationship, the same relationship I'm still in today, and he's always been super encouraging to me. And he was the not yet. Like, I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing. I know you're great, but, you know, doing it full time, maybe not yet. You
mm,
know what I mean? Maybe,
yeah.
you should wait. And again, that's other people projecting their fear on you
Mm.
because they might have something an idea that they've been sitting on and they haven't taken it to the next level. So that's what you're going to get a lot of is people's fears being
Yeah.
projected onto you.
And so how did you overcome like hearing about, because sometimes that's the
Mhm.
part that just like I'm glad that you can have the ability to look back and say, hey, this was what was the intentions behind these answers.
Mhm.
And the thing is those answers are not attacks. Like, and I think
Right.
sometimes we can take it so personally because we're feeling as if the person doesn't believe in us. But like you said, it's through their
Mhm.
lens of fears and concerns for you.
Yeah.
But how did you with you getting those responses, what gave you the confidence to still move forward with making that decision?
Well, for me, I'm going to take it to a spiritual level because God is very important in my life
Mhm,
and you know can't credit anything to myself. You know what I mean?
mm.
Like Jesus is the reason. He's
For
the
the
only
season.
reason. He's the reason for the season and he's the only reason why I'm still sane to this day because as entrepreneurship has its many, many, many challenges that are unseen.
Mm,
But um I have to take it spiritually because he is the only reason why I made the pivot in the first place. Like, I was definitely feeding into the fear. I
mm,
was like, I'm just going to keep this as a fun thing on the side. Yeah, I'm gaining traction online, but we'll just keep doing our lives. Have fun with it. I don't need it to be my bread and butter. It could be extra,
mhm,
right? But I kept feeling a nagging feeling in my spirit that this is your purpose. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And when God has a purpose for you and you are determined to try to go the opposite way, He will make that situation very uncomfortable for you.
mm. Yeah.
He's not going to allow you to stay comfortable in that situation. It's going to become difficult and you're going to automatically start feeling a shift. And for me, that's what it was. I started getting, micromanaged at work.
Mm,
I started, really starting to feel like a lot of stress and anxiety. So health wise, it was affecting me. It was just everything about my current situation was becoming very uncomfortable. And everything about the situation that I was trying to keep off to the side was like my saving grace. It was where I found my peace. It was where I found my joy. And so why wouldn't I push towards that? Like I started pushing the other stuff to the wayside. So what it really was prayer, a lot of prayer and just, taking a risk. I've always been a risk taker. I'm a daredevil anyway. So I was like, shoot, I might as well take a risk on myself. I
exactly.
mean, what's the worst that can happen? If I got to go back to work, I'll go back to work. It ain't no biggie, but
Yeah.
that's pretty much what it was.
No, and I love that approach because I think that
Uh-huh.
sometimes our mind goes to like what's like, what's the worst thing could happen, and we're go
Mhm.
to, like, what those things could possibly be instead of thinking to ourselves, like, what's the best that can happen? And
Exactly.
especially for believers, it's like, even if something bad happens, like, God still got me, and it's still gonna work itself out.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
so I appreciate you sharing that. And so some people might be like, okay, you got started blogging, you started sharing these great
Mhm.
things, and you now have a company. But like, how did you find your first clients in the beginning when you first started your new business?
So they actually found me.
Mm,
And that's the crazy part of it all because we overanalyze that a lot
yeah.
as like, just people in general. I'm not just going to say entrepreneurs because there's people that, have these, hustles and these talents and things and they're so worried about how are people going to find me? But if you are supplying a need
Mm-hmm.
in any industry, if you are supplying a need, people are going to find you. Of course, you have to do work behind the scenes. But for me, I just so happen to be surrounded around a lot of people that, had different events. They had like active social lives, I should say. And if you think about it, I mean, you don't even have to have an active social life. We eat every day.
Yeah.
Food is, it's how we survive. So my industry is always going to have a demand. But my first client was actually a friend of mine's that I met through the event industry.
Mm,
She has a balloon business, a very successful balloon business, and she also has like event rentals, just the whole nine. And she was having an anniversary, a wedding anniversary that was approaching. And I guess they were tired of doing the whole restaurant thing every year. And she was like, I want to have a private dining experience.
mm-hmm.
I had never done a private dining experience. I'm like, I can cook, yeah, but I've never like set the mood and all of this. That's a lot of pressure because that's an important like thing for people to celebrate. I think they had been married at the time. I think it was their eighth wedding anniversary
Mm,
or something like that. And so I'm like, this is a big deal. Like, I got to do this right. I don't even know what to charge you.
yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, I'll just pay you such and such. Like come over here and I'm already again, she's in the event industry. So I'm thinking about stuff that don't even have anything to do with me. Like she had the table setting and the lights and all that. She like, girl, just cook the food. Okay. So I'm thinking about stuff that I don't even have to worry about. Like that's the thing. We get into our own heads
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, girl, I ain't even got nothing to do with you. Like, just do what you do
Yeah.
and do it well. You know what I mean? So I went to her house. She was like, "You could cook in my kitchen. You got access to my kitchen. We got the dishes already set up. Like, just cook the food, make it look nice, and we gonna do what we do." So that's what I did. I cooked a 3-course meal. I did an appetizer. I did the main course, and I did the dessert. And I presented it really nice and pretty. And she had somebody there taking pictures. So now I'm even more nervous because I'm like, child, she got the photographer. I'm like, I mean, it was just like a lot going on. But when I say like she was like the food was absolutely delicious, they enjoyed it. It just warmed my heart. And when you do something like that for someone, that you want some more of that. You like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I wanna feel that again.
Yeah.
It's
It's a high. Yeah,
satisfying.
it's like a high,
Yeah. Yeah,
for
you
lack of
keep
better
chasing
wording.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. And that's so cool because that's part of the reinvention, like
Mhm.
it's allowing yourself to be in those positions because
Mhm.
like if the fear was bigger than our opportunity, like think
Mhm.
like there are some people that would have been in the exact same position that would have said no.
Right.
And not even and then what will happen is 5, 10 years later, if they never had that opportunity again, or if they never overcome it, like, they would have missed out or you would have missed out on all that has come from just
Mhm.
being a yes, and I'm sure, though, is that the beauty of life is that every situation that we have, it helps us with learning
Mm.
something and it gives us skills. So, one of
Yeah.
the questions I have is what skills from your corporate life actually helped you with being an entrepreneur?
Well, number 1, I would say the biggest skill was probably having a schedule. Like, in the beginning I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, blah, 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 like willy-nilly,
Mhm.
like whatever. We just gonna, oh, maybe tomorrow I'll do this.
Yeah.
It's like I had no structure, no structure. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I have more structure now, but it's still not tight knit. And I'm 5 years in. That's why I was like, you never stop learning.
But,
Like
here's the
structure is
thing.
important.
But here's the thing that I love that you just shared is that you're at least aware that there was something that was needed. Because
Oh
often
yeah.
what happens is that when we're not aware of skills that we had to apply in corporate,
Mm-hmm.
or that's why sometimes I feel like some individuals that haven't had that exposure and then they jump into entrepreneurship, they
Hmm.
can always catch up, but they can
Yeah.
sometimes be behind because at least you knew, like, oh, I knew a schedule. I mean, like those things helped
Mm-hmm.
you. Where
Yeah.
sometimes when someone has never worked in those environments, the
Mm-hmm.
systems you had to follow in this, like,
Yeah.
be it computer systems, processes, you you didn't just show up at your job day one and they're like, "Okay, figure it out." No, they gave you the manuals. They gave so you were at least
Exactly.
exposed to these things might be something. I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet. I don't
Right.
know what it looks like yet, but at
Yeah.
least you were aware.
And you don't appreciate it when you're on the job
Mhm.
because, again, it's done for you.
Yes.
So you're not worried about what's happening behind the scenes. You're just like, when I get to work, they'll tell me what I need to do. Or I
Yeah.
know my they'll tell me what I need to do.
They'll
I
send
don't
me
have
an
to think
email
that.
with
I don't
bullet
have to think,
points.
look, okay, I don't have to think that hard. Like, trust me, they're gonna tell me what I need to do because they're not paying me for free.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not paying me to just sit here and look cute. Cause I looked cute at work. Okay. I was one of those ones. I was like, I consider myself a corporate baddie, honey. I was wearing my 6-inch heels. If my face wasn't beat by the time I got to the office, I sat in my cubicle and I would beat my face.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes, I'm like, they ain't paying me to just sit here and look cute, honey. I
Yeah.
mean, I would love to do that, but they're going to give me what I need to do for the day.
Yeah.
And so I don't have that luxury now. I am the person who got to tell me what to do for the day,
Yeah.
or else it's not going to get done. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So structure was definitely something that I took from my corporate job, as well as, most importantly, before structure, we just going to flip it around. The most important thing I learned was customer service because that's
Yes.
my industry that I'm coming from,
Yes.
is customer service. And that needs to be, that's like the cherry on top of that's the sprinkles on top of the cherry on top of the sundae,
That part.
is customer service, because that's what's going to keep people coming back. That's what's going to keep people referring you. That's what's going to get you positive reviews.
Mhm.
It's going to make you look good overall. Customer service has to be top tier.
Yes.
And that was when I was structuring my business and what I wanted my business to represent. Customer service was at the top. And that is what I love about the corporate experience that I have,
Mhm.
is that you go through those customer service trainings, you go into customer service workshops, they giving you handbooks with
Mhm.
tips on how to show empathy and how to adjust your tone on the phone, because you can hear a smile.
Yes,
Like you
exactly.
understand. You already know, like, this is just like all the blah. We heard it like blah 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 when we're on the job. But when you're structuring your business, it's not blah blah blah. It's everything.
Yes.
And everyone that I talk to from the consultation process, and we've worked
Yes,
together
we
in
have
this
in
industry.
transparency.
So
Yes.
yeah, it's like, we literally, like you already know from the consult, first impressions really are lasting impressions.
Mhm.
Like, people come into consults not knowing for sure if they're going to hire you for whatever you do. Usually they're shopping, right?
Yeah.
But the way that you get them to like stamp the deal is how you treat them, how, organized and professional you are, and just how you represent yourself. Representation is everything. I said that in the beginning, and I'll still say that all throughout this whole entire podcast. It's like how you represent yourself, it means everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like physically, and just like how you make people feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to make people feel like a VIP. Everyone should feel like VIP.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad that you brought up all of those things because I feel that
Mhm.
those are really like, if we take the time, granted, some people have jobs where they haven't had those experiences, but
Mhm.
whatever experiences you've had at work, they can help prepare you for that
Mhm.
next chapter. Even if it's you came from a toxic work environment, you can learn what do you not want in your business. And
Mhm.
I think that's why it's also important for those of us when we see someone that just jumps out there and now they have all of this
Mhm.
quote unquote success overnight per se. No,
Mhm.
they've had things they've had skills that have been built up and cultivated over the years and for some people over
Mhm.
the decades. And now they're going into this next chapter, just actually using it for themselves
Yeah.
and for the direction they're wanting to go. So it's good to know like these are some of the skills that you've learned. But here's the thing
Mhm.
is how do you handle the challenges that come with being your very own boss now?
Lord. How do I handle the challenges? Imma tell you, well, number 1, you have to have a strong village around you because we're human at the end of the day. So, yes, I'm my own boss, but as my own boss, I'm dealing with a lot of stresses behind the scenes, and sometimes just having a good vent session can be therapeutic,
Yes.
right? And so you need to surround yourself around people that they don't have to be in the same industry,
Mm,
but just like-minded individuals who have the same type of goals, the forward-thinking goals and everything. Being able to have like a good strong village around you is definitely
mhm,
key. Also, I would also say that another thing that helps me is, like I said, I said prayer because prayer is definitely key. But I would just say I'm really trying to think as far as like how do I handle the pressures? It's just a lot of prayer, a lot of having a strong village around me. I've always been very family oriented
mhm,
because I told you that I come from a huge family.
mhm.
Like literally, I have over 50 some of my cousins just in this area alone. And I'm
Wow.
talking about first cousins. Like, so yeah, my family, we pretty deep in this area.
Yeah.
So, but my family is not necessarily my type village. I've created a village since being in this industry of people that, like you that I've worked with,
Yeah.
old coworkers that I still keep in contact with and, other people that maybe I have used their services and we just developed a relationship, over time. So, really, I would say probably that is my go to answer as far as like dealing with the challenges, having a strong village. My fiance, he is a part of my village.
Yeah.
He's my best friend. You know what I mean? So I vent to him. And the good thing about him is he's been with me since
The beginning.
I was just taking pictures
Yeah.
of food. I was fussing at him about not getting the angles right. Because you already know, like, food, picture, angle, lighting, and everything can make or break, like, food. It could be a delicious dish, but if it don't look all that appealing online, people gonna be like, "That don't look all that good." So I don't care how good it was.
Yeah.
My eyes, I'm eating with my eyes first, so I would be fussing at him about shadows and angles and use portrait mode so you can blur out the background, like just a little, so yeah, I would definitely say how I overcome a lot of the challenges of being my own boss is having a good village around me. And then also another key point is learning from your failures.
Yes.
That is probably key.
Mm,
I think people look at failure as a negative, and I have actually learned that since becoming an entrepreneur, I actually look at my failures as lessons, and
mhm.
I appreciate them more because I'm like, fool me once, but you're not going to fool me twice. Okay? So yeah,
Well, one of the
definitely.
things that even came up for me with knowing
Mhm.
you is that in order to help you with overcoming some of the challenges, I feel that you also extend yourself grace.
Mhm.
And that ties in directly with the lessons, like learning from those
Yes.
lessons, because it's hard to extend yourself grace when
Mhm.
you are allowing yourself to learn, like not beating yourself
Yeah.
up and it's like, oh, I can't believe you didn't, because sometimes when we get so wrapped up in either what the client did or what we could have
Yeah.
done better, we won't allow for ourselves to see a solution that is can be
Mhm.
based in a grace of like, okay, maybe in the future I won't do this when it comes to this type of
Yes.
client, or here's some signs for red flags, because all of that itself is based in grace of like
Well, it
not knowing
is.
it
It
all.
is. Well, Imma tell you the reason why I probably didn't even bring that up, because we talked about this before, and I mentioned grace
Mhm.
in a different scenario.
Yes.
When I met you and around the time we started working together, I had just started learning how to extend myself a little bit of grace.
Mm,
But in the beginning, it would like every failure would eat me alive.
yeah.
Like I would harbor it because I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Mm,
So, and I can admit that, like, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I don't do that anymore to the extent that I used to, but in the beginning, I was still suffering from a little bit of that. And so I wasn't extending myself the grace. I needed my village to tell me to extend myself grace. You
mm,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And of course, people that love you and care about you, anybody who does something wrong to you, they're like, "Oh, where they at?" Like,
Exactly. They're gonna
they
jump
like,
in.
I know that. Do they not know how much work you put into this and that and blah, blah, blah? But
Yeah.
again, like I started realizing once I learned to extend myself grace that yes, that is super important to do. But I just have to be honest, in the beginning of most people's entrepreneurship journey, they're not going to do that because disappointing someone, it's a hard pill to swallow,
Hmm.
especially when you really have put a lot of time and dedication and effort into what you're doing.
Yes.
I've learned that you just cannot satisfy everyone.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're individuals. And that's why I said I've learned from those failures. I love like finding a lesson out of it.
Mm,
I find a lesson out of every failure that you have to do that. That's healthy in any aspect in life. Like, okay, this happened. I can't take it back now, but what could I have done different? And next time I will do it different because I've learned that lesson, you know?
and that's so valuable. And like everything you just shared, I think are just things
Hmm.
that people can really think to themselves if they are starting something new. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be perfect. Some of our
Hmm.
previous experiences can help us with having a fresh start
Hmm.
and having the power and the courage to say yes, even when there's fear. And
Hmm.
then understanding there may be some challenges, but what I wanna now dig into is, like, some advice and encouragement that we can give to some people, is, like, from the space of, like, what are some myths do you think people believe about starting over?
I feel like people think that I think the myth about starting over is that it's too late, which is the whole title of this whole thing.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest myth is like, oh, I'm too old. Or even if you're not old, because you could be in your 20s starting over from what you were doing before.
yeah,
I think people just feel like people aren't going to accept the change.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like that comfortable. I remember when I told you I was taking classes as well during the time that I was also pivoting. And one of the first lessons that I had in my course that I was taking, it was talking about um, basically like how people don't know how to accept change
mm,
and people usually go with the majority rules,
yeah,
like it was like, people are always going to refer to what the masses, want
yeah,
versus like, okay, this is what I want.
mm,
You know what I mean?
mhm,
And so I think that a lot of people allow other people, like I said, other people's fears in the beginning.
mm,
They were like, not yet. They didn't say no, they said not yet.
mm,
But I think the biggest myth of it all is that it's too late. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. One of the biggest ones that just came to mind, there's already too many people that are doing this thing. Child,
yes, all that away.
crumple it up
Yeah,
and throw that in the trash. I just had to give a visual
yeah,
because, like, that is the biggest crock of BS.
yeah,
Like, the industry's already oversaturated. Child, bye. There's only one you. Every business is oversaturated. When There's Target, Walmart,
Or
Walgreens,
makeup. Think
CVS.
about
I'm just
makeup.
saying, like, yeah, makeup, skincare,
Like Haley Bailey Babel.
cologne, perfume, everything. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
because like Bieber just
yeah.
sold her skincare brand for
Mm-hmm.
$1 billion, and that skincare company is, I would assume, I believe from a marketing standpoint, I only saw it in the
Mm-hmm.
last since the pandemic. So like let's say the last 3 to 4 years. Like
Yeah.
even in a 3 to 4 year standpoint, she did not say anything like, oh, well, there's too many skincare brands. However, like we allow for this perception of, what we do is to like people are still coming out with new skincare brands. People are still coming out with new soda companies. I mean, think about
Exactly.
Olipop. Like all these
Yeah.
brands are coming out with different things. So why do we have to think about our services? Like I don't think product
Exactly.
brands think about it that way. But for some reason,
Yeah.
service brands have this perspective of like, oh, there's just too many people out there. And the reality is, it's not. Like, it
Yeah.
really isn't. So,
Well, everyone's serving a different purpose. They're
yes.
serving a different area. And even if you are in the same area with someone else, you might offer a different menu than
Hmm.
someone else. Like what you have to offer is necessary.
Yeah.
And like that's why like the every business I just started realizing when I got into my business, I'm like, every business is oversaturated. It's okay because one person is gonna like this better than the other.
Hmm.
Somebody might think Olipop is better than Poppy.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, no, Poppy's better. You know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
somebody's like, oh, well, I found this brand at Whole Foods and I like them better than both of those. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's like, I mean, look how many water brands there are.
And
It's
it's
freaking
water.
water. It's water. It's water. It has no taste. The bottle is different, but it's water. And you got all these different water brands, and people have their favorite waters.
Yeah.
That's the hilarious part. They're like, oh, yeah, no, Dasani is the best, or this is, it's water.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
funny
it's
when you
water.
say that because I forget. I was babysitting. We had to go to some place and
Mhm.
they had like choose which drink. And I was like, I got soda and I don't drink soda. And someone was like, well, why didn't you get
Right.
water? I'm like, cause they use this brand of water. I don't like that water. So I'd rather take 5 sips of this soda that's going to burn my throat compared to getting a
That is
whole bottle.
hilarious. That's hilarious. I mean, but it's I mean,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm just talking
No, but
because
it's
obviously
honest. Yeah.
I have my go-tos for waters
Yeah.
too, but if you think about it in that way, it's just like, yeah, we let a lot of what majority rules, going
Hmm.
back to what I was saying about majority rules, we let a lot of the majority thoughts affect
Hmm.
how we see things.
Yeah.
And so, like I was saying, like people, they usually go with the status quo. They want to go with, oh yeah, everybody's thinking like, oh yeah, she's doing this, but such and such does that too, and blah blah blah. Yeah, but such and such is following
Yeah.
may not know me. I have my own following over here because I'm servicing a different demographic.
Mm,
And even if they do know that person, we don't do things the same exact way.
mm,
It's not copy and paste. You know what I mean? We all bring something different to the table. And so you just have to know that people want what you offer. And a lot of times you don't have to be the best at what you do.
mm.
People actually will invest in you because they like you better than they like so and so.
Yes.
Such and such probably does cook this better. But guess what? I don't like her attitude. So
Mhm.
I'm going to go with you because I like you. So let me just go with you. And then guess what? I might learn to like yours better because I don't want to
Mm,
deal with that person over there.
fair.
So it's so many different factors when it comes to people spending their money that people are considering. And if you just let the fact that somebody else is already doing it deter you, you're going to miss out on a lot. You know what I mean? So yeah, you can't do that.
I love that. Awesome. And so like that was some really great advice. One of the things I would also like for you to give some advice is on if someone I have something else I would love to ask you. What advice
Hmm.
would you give to someone listening who is thinking about making a similar pivot in their lives?
Do it, but pray on it first.
Yes.
That's my that because a lot of times it's not that it's not meant for you. It's just that the timing has to be right.
Mm,
And the only person in my life, God is not a person, but he's a being. It's basically like that's who made the determination for me
Mm,
is when it was time. Everybody else around me said not yet. And he said now. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I would just say move with prayer and move with intention, good intention,
Mm,
because a lot of times too, people are driven by money and that's why they're pivoting. And money can't be the reason for the pivot because the money is not always there.
yeah.
And what I mean by that is, yes, I'm making money, but it's not always in abundance.
Mhm.
One month, I just said on my stories earlier today on Instagram that May was my most profitable month this year thus far. And April wasn't looking all like that. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? March was okay.
Yeah.
So it's like the money is not going to always be consistent. And if your purpose and your drive is money, you're not going to last
Lo
but 2.5 seconds.
Exactly.
So that month, I was saying that literally, if you're letting money drive you, you're not going to last at all.
Yeah.
Like literally, one month you may be in the dumps, and then the very next month you may have triple what you would have made
Yeah.
in that month that you missed. So you've made up for it. It really, that's why you have to have structure because if you plan ahead and you anticipate what's to come,
Yeah.
then it'll help you. And sometimes you could plan ahead and it still don't work out.
Mhm.
You can have all your ducks in a row and it just doesn't happen that way in entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, every industry has its
Thing.
high seasons and they have their low seasons. And
Yeah.
so what you do in those low seasons is you don't sit around and sulk about it. You actually utilize that time to plan for the seasons to come because you can make up for what was lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my advice is, like definitely be driven by the right thing. If it's your passion, if it's your love, if you really want to help people, if you really want to fulfill that need in that industry that you're in, let it be driven by the right thing, which should be passion. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, because if you're waiting for just profit, that's hilarious because sometimes we just break it even over in these parts. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, yeah, definitely be driven. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Family might be your drive. It's not going to always be passion. It might, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It might be, I want to create generational wealth. That's my drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that's what's driving you, do it. You know what I mean? So, or I want to, create opportunities for people who normally don't get opportunities in
Yeah.
this area.
So I
Just
would
have the right drive.
no, I think that that's perfect because I was going to ask you a question. Like over
Mhm.
the 5 years that you've been in and you've had a lot of experiences,
Mhm.
has your definition of success shifted? And if so, what do you actually consider success now?
Well, yes. In the beginning, my measure of success was I want to make six figures a year. That was that was what and I mean, obviously, I love to cook and everything, but I quit my job for this. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I'm gonna need to sustain. Once I hit that goal, then it was like, now I want to double or triple that or whatever. Once you hit those goals, you start realizing that, like, that's not success. The money is not the success. The success is living the life that you want to live and
Hmm.
comfortably. That's success. To me, success is being in my right mind and being happy every day knowing that not just because I'm creating my own schedule, because sometimes I'm creating my own schedule and it's hell. But it's so yeah,
Facts.
people like, oh yeah, I love that I can do whatever I want to do. Yeah, sometimes whatever you want to do, it has to be done. It's not all that great. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I would definitely say that yeah, you definitely want to um like make sure that your level of success, whatever that is for you, because everybody's level of success is different. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be money wise. Your
Yeah.
level of success could be, I want to travel half of the year. That's
Yes.
success for me. I want to travel 6 months out of every year. And so once I get to the point where I can do that, I am successful, right? So
Yes.
I would just say that for me, my level of success in the beginning had a numeric
Value. Yeah.
portion. It had a numeric value. Now my level of success for me is value of life and
Yes.
peace.
I would
That is my success.
say that's where I'm at too. Like, I'm in a place
Mhm.
where, like, I'm like, I literally don't want to subscribe to other people versions of success. And anyone that knows me, when she
Exactly.
said about traveling 6 months, Jesse wants to be
Look, I
up
I
out.
brought that up, but look, I knew that was on your page because
Yes.
you love to travel.
I'm like,
You like, where am I going next?
give me a reason, literally.
Right.
And I want to have the ease. And I love the fact of being able to go and see family. And my family is spread out over multiple continents and things like that.
Mhm.
So just even have the ease of being able to pick up, and like one of my friends, she just recently was diagnosed with breast cancer, and like it hurt me to be like, Dag, I have a certain level of success, but for me to now buy a last minute ticket and interrupt all these different things, I don't have that
Right.
flexibility. So for me, that shift of success is like, okay, what do I really want my ease and flexibility to be? Like,
Exactly.
what kind of quality of life? I don't want it to be that I have to wait until everything's falling apart on my body to be like, okay, now it's time to live my life. Like, no, I
Exactly.
want to live my life
Exactly.
today. I want to have the experiences that I want to have today.
Yeah.
And to know that when it's time for me to transition, that I've been well to people,
Mhm.
I've made an impact, I've made a difference, that
Mhm.
I use my time well, and that I
Yeah.
was able to live my life to the fullest that I could potentially have lived it.
Exactly. Yeah, like and that's why it was so funny when you asked me about success because everybody's level of success is so different.
Mhm,
I can't, pinpoint what you asked me about what I look at as success.
mhm,
And that's what I look at as success is the value of life. Everybody's level of success is different. It was
100%.
a special on Netflix, and I know everyone probably saw it because it came out a couple of years back. But it was about a guy talking about, I think, like how to get rich or how to live your rich life or
Yes.
something like that. And he was like, I could have bought 3, 4 houses by now. He was like, but that's not what I
Mm-mm,
consider
mm-mm.
success. He was like, people have to get out of their head that your level of success, you're not successful until you buy a house. He was like, there's lots of people that qualify to buy a home that don't buy a home because they want to travel.
Mhm.
And your home, you can't pick up and travel. You can't pick up and travel with your home. It has to stay where it's at.
Yeah.
So some people, they prefer to rent because they have full service concierge. So they know their packages are going to be retrieved. They know that their apartment is going to be secured.
Yeah. We
They
don't
they
have to
don't want to
cut
have to worry
grass.
about getting, yeah, they don't want to have to worry about a house sitter and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. Like, yeah, they don't want, like you said, a yard because child, we ain't even gonna go there. Landscaping is so expensive.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just like your level of success is what you make it. When my level of success at this point is really just living a peaceful, loving life, being able to split my time between work and family and just eating good. Okay.
I
Cause
lo
food is life.
Yeah, that.
I love good food. So yeah, I want to travel and eat good.
And it's great that you're sharing so much about your journey and the process that you've had to learn through
Mhm.
and what success looks like. So one thing I'm curious about is what's one thing you're most proud about in your journey so far?
I would say I'm most proud that I've created um a reputation for myself that exceeds just what I promote. Like the way that I have presented myself has been successful beyond what I thought.
Mhm.
Because, like I said in the beginning, I was worried about aesthetics. I'm like, I got to get my website professionally done. You know all about that.
Yes.
I'm like, I got to come up with a system. I got to do this. I got to do that. And all of that was to create a reputation for myself so that I am in demand,
Mhm.
right? And so I am most proud that now I can truly say that I haven't even been promoting like that. And that's not a good thing because you should always promote, promote, promote. I
Mhm.
haven't been marketing myself that much because I have a lot of personal things going on. I'm getting married this month. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Even outside of that, I have grandchildren now, so, like, I'm spending more time with family, and I've just been kinda prioritizing some more of my personal
Mhm.
as of late
Yeah.
while still working my business, but I told you May was my most successful month thus far this year without any marketing really.
Yeah.
And so that speaks to the reputation that I've built for myself just from the way I treat people, from, my customer service, and just from other people having positive experiences and wanting other people to have the same positive experience. That I would say I'm most proud of is that I've built an amazing reputation for my company, and that's always goals.
Yeah.
To make a good reputation for yourself and to keep that
Reputation.
reputation, because that reputation can change. I want to maintain it
Yeah.
always. So yeah.
Awesome. So you have answered some amazing questions. You've given us
Mhm.
some awesome feedback, and it is never too late to get started. So I would love for
Never.
you to share, how can people connect with you and learn more about your services?
So on Instagram, it's Case the Chef. It's a shortening of my first name, KACE the Chef. On Facebook, it's Kacey Grady Cooks. And on TikTok, it's Kacey Grady Cooks. My website is KaceyGradyCooks.com. And, all of my information is in my bios on all of those social medias. And yeah, I am located here in the DMV area. So I service the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area for those of you all who are not familiar with what the DMV is. It's DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Mhm.
But I also am willing to travel. I've traveled beyond this area as well for catering services. We specialize in all sorts of, party foods. I basically pride myself on creating American cuisine, but making it have a touch of nostalgia, meaning that I want my food to taste like you at auntie's house. Like the flavors are there. The presentation is just a little bit more elevated than maybe what auntie might put out, but the flavors are there. And so that's what we pride ourselves on. So if you want some good soul food with good presentation, amazing customer service, you contact us and we got you covered for all occasions.
Well, fantastic. I hope that people listen to this episode really feeling inspired. If you've been in a
Mhm.
position where you're feeling as if maybe there's something that you've been passionate about and you're just not sure how to get started, maybe it's just sharing, using it as an
Mhm.
opportunity to just put yourself out there and see where things go, and being present to the fact that fear doesn't have to stop you, and time and your age isn't one of those factors as well. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure to share this to a friend and subscribe to this channel so that you can be connected and be a part of this amazing community. So continue to live your life fully and not allowing your age to get in the way.